Hello everyone, thank you for joining us on this edition of the news on the Equinoxe television. We are broadcasting from Cameroon's economic capital, Douala. My name is Babla Jonathan. In today's edition of the news, we're taking you back into the bloody incidents recorded in the Anglophone regions of the Republic of Cameroon within the context of the more than 4-year-long armed conflict in those parts of the country. In the meantime, there is hope that international bodies and Western countries will mount greater pressure on the Yaoundé administration to solve the crisis in the two English-speaking regions of the country. Some persons speaking to us, Cameroonians in the United States of America, are hoping that this will come to pass under the Biden administration. We'll be bringing to you an extract of Dr. Ivor Dita, a Cameroonian in the United States of America, a professor, lecturer in the University of Minnesota, in this edition of the news. And of course, we're bringing to you updates on the African Nations Championship after Cameroon grabbed its qualification ticket to the quarterfinals. Once more, thank you for staying with us. We begin this newscast in the northwest and southwest regions of the country, where some bloody incidents were recorded last weekend. Some persons were killed within the context of the violence and the gun battles characterizing the 4-year-long armed conflict in the northwest and southwest regions of the country. In the meantime, Queen mothers were equally on the streets pressing for a return to peace and normalcy in the crisis-stricken regions. For me, Armstrong Sander has more.
It was another weekend of panic, pain and mourning in the trouble-hit northwest and southwest regions of Cameroon. Panic reportedly gripped inhabitants of Limbi following an explosion few meters to a filling station at the half-mile neighborhood. Our correspondent in Limbe say 4 vehicles were shattered with no human casualty recorded. Bamenda inhabitants were gripped by shock and pains following the assassination of 4 teenagers in a raid at Meta quarters. Another killing too many, which the Mafos and mothers of the northwest region say must stop for normalcy to return in their region.
Though things are happening the way they are, we know because you are in our midst. We know because you are here. We know because you are in the northwest. Father, nothing takes you unaware.
Coming from Bambili, Bambwi, Nkwen, Mendankwe, Ndu, Akum and other parts of the northwest region, the women converge at the commercial avenue, mourning and deploring the killings and suffering imposed by the armed conflict on the northwest and southwest regions.
We have come again today to tell you all our worries, all our problems, all the things that are troubling us. That is why today we are here at the grandstand.
While praying and invoking the intervention of God in the 2 Anglophone regions of Cameroon, the women told belligerent parties that peace is all they need, as the crisis is only taking their region backward.
Father, we are not discouraged because we know you are alive.
From Muslims to Christians, religious speakers like Reverend Caroline Memo challenged the various religious bodies to speak out against this scourge which has brought untold suffering to the people. In recognition to her efforts and sacrifices made in organizing the mourning exercise since the Kumba massacre of October 24, 2020, the Mafos and women of the northwest region prayed for the protection of Mafo, Ya Sunday Epos Hachidi. Though absent for professional reasons, the women say Mafo Ya Sunday Epos Hachidi initiated the exercise, which has been on since November 2020. Unlike the previous editions, which ended with visits and gifts to internally displaced persons in Bamenda and DDR centers, the mourning women rounded up with a peace walk in the commercial avenue in Bamenda. I'm gonna say,
me to sing.
Stop the killing. We never bargained for this. These are some of the messages brandished by the Queen Mothers in the Northwest Regional Chieftown, Bamenda, pressing for solutions to the Anglophone crisis. And in the meantime, with the coming to power of a Democrat in the United States, Joe Biden, there is hope that international institutions, including the United Nations Organization and other Western countries like France and the United States, will mount more pressure on the Yaoundé administration to restore peace and normalcy in the crisis-stricken regions. We talked to a Cameroonian based in the United States of America, a professor of medicine in the University of Minnesota Medical School. Dr. Ivo Dita spoke to The Inside. Take a listen. Dr. Ivo Dita expressing hopes that more pressure, more international pressure will be mounted on Cameroon, in his opinion. And of course, like other persons have been saying, the Cameroon government has been struggling to solve the crisis for the past 4 years, but it is persisting, even though the Minister of Territorial Administration, Tanganji Paul, thinks that the President of the Republic, Paul Biya, has won the war against secessionism in the northwest and southwest regions of the country. There are still atrocities being committed, persons killed, arson attacks on schools that are burnt down, the latest being the Presbyterian Secondary School, Mancon, which witnessed 2 fire incidents, the first that consumed the boys' dormitory and the second that consumed the girls' dormitory. Abduction and other atrocities are still going on in those parts of the country, and some think that international pressure could be the miracle bullet that will help in bringing the solution to the 4-year-long armed conflict in the northwest and southwest regions of the country. And with the coming to power of a Democrat in the United States, Joe Biden, who took over office last week, there is hope that more pressure will be coming in on the Yaoundé administration from international institutions, including the United Nations Organization and other Western countries like France and the USA, in view of pressing for a return to normalcy and peace in the crisis-stricken northwest and southwest regions of the country. We talked to Dr. Ivo Dita, lecturer at the University of Minnesota in the United States of America. Listen to him. We'll be coming to that extract in a short while. Time for us to talk about other issues still concerning the Anglophone crisis. Some politicians, notably those of the opposition, have highlighted the non-implementation of the constitution of the country as one of the central causes of the 4-year-long armed conflict in the northwest and southwest regions of the country. 25 years after the revision of the constitution of the country, some opposition politicians simply think that there is no balance sheet, if not crisis here and there, crisis in the northwest and southwest regions, security crisis in the far north region, security crisis in the east region, and other economic and social problems that have increased with years passing by, and of course the socio-economic and financial situation of Cameroonians worsening over time. And they were speaking on the program Draw the Response on the Equinoxe television that was over the weekend. In the meantime, those of the ruling Cameroon People's Democratic Movement think that much has been achieved as far as the implementation of provisions of the Constitution is concerned. Now we compiled their views in this report. Innocent.
The contemporary institutional and political organization of the Republic of Cameroon derives its legitimacy and basis from Law Number 96/06 of 18th January 1996 on the revision of the Constitution of June 1972. 25 years after adoption and promulgation, the January 1996 Constitution has left nothing to be desired, rather than sparking the Anglophone crisis and other socio-political tensions, according to opponents of the Biya regime.
L'échec de la Constitution.
Barrister Simon Serge Kakak of the UPC party says it has been a total failure.
Parce qu'en réalité,
Objective of revising the 1972 Constitution was to implant decentralization that will allow the population fully participate in administration and development. It also aimed at bringing the population out of a unitary system and a centralization of power. Unfortunately, decentralization has not worked.
les régions sur lesquelles les décideurs ne maîtrisent pas les réalités.
Barrister Roland Djewu of the CRM party is indifferent.
Le bilan que l'on peut faire de la Constitution.
The balance sheet we can make of the January 18th, 1996 Constitution 25 years after is a triple failure in all domains, despite availability of a draft-out plan requiring only a mere decree for achievement of projects. Every realization of the regime is in the mind and theoretical. No practical realization. In effect, there is nothing to evaluate here.
Quel modèle de management?
Joseph René Mbotoze defends his CPDM party by saying it was never written in the 1996 Constitution. There is a deadline to put the various institutions in place.
Dans la Constitution camerounaise de 1996, il n'a pas été donné un délai.
Rather, it states the institutions will be progressively put in place without necessarily rushing to do so, which will rather end up chaotic. Slowly but surely, the institutions are being put in place, so they live firm for hundreds of years.
Vous voyez, on ne s'est pas précipité. On est allé progressivement. Nous avions eu la chance.
We must thank the great President Paul Biya, who is still alive, because without him, we would have been in a disastrous society.
Imaginez que nous nous soyons précipités et que nous ayons perdu cet homme. Le Cameroun allait ressembler à quoi aujourd'hui?
Barrister Roland Djewu of the CRM stops him from consistently saying there is more than enough time and years for the institutions to be put in place.
Arrêtez aussi cet enfumage qui consiste à dire oui, le temps long, le temps ceci, le temps cela.
Your progressively, slowly, but surely ideology condemns the population who will die while still hoping one day, after centuries, all will be well.
Enfin, que le Cameroun soit gouverné, parce que pour l'instant, il n'est pas gouverné du tout.
To the opposition, Cameroon is not governed, and it is time for it to be governed by effectively putting in place all the 1996 institutions to stop the lava flowing in Cameroon once and for all.
Coming up, Immaculate Fogwe takes us to government primary school in Bidu in Gaoundere, Adamawa region of Cameroon, and she's going to show us the deplorable conditions in which pupils are studying. Her report.
Pupils of government primary school Bidu, located in Gaoundere, Adamawa region of Cameroon, receiving lectures while seated on logs of wood. Though seated in an uncomfortable environment, their quest for knowledge and equally becoming better persons in the society is a major booster for them. Many of these children lack didactic materials such as boards, textbooks, or even bags, as some of them could be seen using plastic bags. Many of these pupils arrive in the morning looking neat, but when going back home, they look like they carried out intensive manual labor. This is because of the dusty nature of their classroom. Touched by the difficult situation of these children, a civil society organization known as I Love Septentrion offered 30 benches.
That I am very glad this day because this donation is a good thing for the learning of children.
The government cannot provide everything, reason why the population have to put hands on deck. Touched by the difficult situation of these children, the group I Love Septentrion decided to offer 30 benches today.
Aujourd'hui, à l'école publique de Bido.
Though offer these benches, a lot more is still expected by the pupils of government primary school, Bido.
Lecturers of state universities in the Republic of Cameroon have gone on a one-week strike action. They are protesting over poor working conditions and non-payment of research fees, and they are complaining that rules and regulations governing the management of the special fund for research or to ameliorate or improve or modernize research are not being respected by the Ministry of Higher Education. Charles Kmer reports.
Cameroonian lecturers of state universities have embarked on a one-week strike action called by the National Syndicate of Teachers of Higher Education, SYNES. At the University of Douala, members of SYNES Douala chapter outlined the reasons of the strike action.
We are striking for two reasons. First of all, the no payment of our allowance decided by the head of the state, the President of the Republic, and secondly, the extra hours due to lecturers, the no payment of jury. When we participate to jury exams and vigilating exam, we are supposed to have a few gratification.
These lecturers are still contemplating why they haven't yet been paid their dues and urge the government to take action.
We are continuing to trust on the Ministry of Higher Education. So for our own concern, we don't know the reason why we are not really paid. And for that, we give 2 weeks for the two ministries concerned by the problem, Ministry of Finance and Ministry of Higher Education, to organize the fight to pay us on time.
This unfortunate situation has affected the entire student body, which has caused students to miss out on lectures, says the student.
I saw my classmates, they were just joking. I asked them where's the teacher, they said the teacher is not around. No, I think that maybe it's about the strike, because they didn't have the dues. Of our country should put in place measures in order to give these teachers their dues, so that they can come and teach us normally. Because when they don't come, we lose classes. And when you're going to this normal session, you won't validate all your courses.
The request of lecturers and students at the University of Douala is that the conditions of the lecturers are met so lectures can effectively go on.
Mali and Cameroon became the first nations to qualify for the quarterfinals of the African Nations Championship yesterday. Today in the Japoma Stadium here in Douala and at the Amadou Ahidjo Stadium in the nation's political capital Yaoundé, the teams that will play the quarterfinals from Group B will be known. Sman Jikan Gebre is now on standby at the Japoma Sports Complex here in Douala with updates and stakes. Hello.
Evening to you, Babila Jonathan. Right behind me is the pitch where the action will take place at exactly 8 p.m. Cameroon time. It's going to be Libya versus Congo Brazzaville, and I want to tell you that Libya has once won this competition and they will be willing to extend their stay in Cameroon when they take on Congo. The stakes are high. Congo 1 point, Libya 2 points. A win for Libya will guarantee them a spot in the next round, and a win for Congo will also see them through to the next round. But it's going to be decided after 90 minutes plus the extra time the referee of the day is going to give them here at the Japoma Sports Stadium. Out of the Japoma Sports Stadium, we shall have another Group B encounter that will be playing simultaneously as the game here is being played. We are going to have the Democratic Republic of Congo, current group leaders of Group B, B will be taking on Niger with 2 points. As I earlier mentioned, a win for Niger too might guarantee them a place in the next round, but DR Congo must have at least a draw and stay away from defeat, without which they might not be coming in to the next stage of the competition. So it's going to be a tough game between the DR Congo side and Niger, as they both tussle for a ticket in the next round of the competition. Group B, as it stands before these games later on this evening, the DR Congo is on top with 4 points. We have Libya, Niger with 2 points each, and Congo is 1 point first from the bottom. Mali and Cameroon are through to the next stage of the competition, and it will be important to note that Mali defeated Zimbabwe right here by 1-0 to go top of Group A. Meanwhile, we have the likes of Cameroon that played a goalless draw with Burkina Faso to become the second. Cameroon will be playing right here at the Japoma Sports Complex against the first of this group here at the quarterfinals. The video assistance referee will be introduced into this competition at the level of the quarterfinals. Live at the Japoma Sports Complex on few hours to the kickoff of the Group B encounter between Libya and Niger. For Equinoxe Television 6 p.m. news, Raoul Tabufwe, Smart Njikan Gabriel.
Thanks, Smart Njikan Gabriel, for that report. The Democratic Republic of Congo will play against Niger in Yaoundé. Coming up next, Talking Point. Thank you for joining us on this edition of Talking Points. We're going to be talking about the educational mechanism in the Cameroon, which, according to civil society leaders and other educationists and, of course, observers, is sick from the top to the bottom. Senior or higher education lecturers on strike, complaining about non-payment of research dues and poor working conditions. Pupils in primary schools studying in precarious conditions. I'm receiving tonight historian and civil society leader Gilbert Gimdo. Thank you for joining me today.
Thank you. Good evening, Mr. Babila. Good evening, televiewers. Good evening. And the situation precarious, like you say, it's something that the nation really has to get up for that.
Let's start from the bottom.
Yeah.
You saw images of primary school, government primary school in Bidu, in Gaounderi, Adamawa region of Cameroon. Pupils studying in precarious conditions. What's your reaction to that?
That is very peculiar of the three northern regions. I don't know why politicians in this nation behave the way they behave, because when you get into government, you find that sometimes people may blame the head of state and blame the government for maybe sidelining some areas or favoring some areas. But the truth about the government and the representation in the government of this country is that our three northern regions are well represented. Besides, the policy of the government has on regional balance, on regional development, has never, as far as every Cameroonian is concerned, not only me, kept the north out, except the council area or the government in that particular area is handled by some people who do not want to see development in that particular area, because we don't believe that should be the image of a school, that the name should be called government. When you look at the government of this country, you find elite of the north. You find the north well represented in that area. When you look at the government, in fact, every organ of government, the legislature, the judiciary, the executive, they are well represented. Where is the problem? I remember President Aijo used to say that tribalism is a vector of development. If you are appointed from your area and you refuse to take care of your own area, then there is a problem. It means you do not deserve to come from that area and be in government. You don't deserve to represent that area. So the question is, who are those who represent that area?
Even though they are appointed to serve the nation, it is usually said that charity begins from home.
The issue of serving the nation, let's be clear about this. When you're in parliament, they say député de la nation, you're the deputy of the nation. But then, who elected you? Who are those who choose you? What about those micro projects, microfinance projects that are given in the parliament? Are they given to you to leave your own area and go invest elsewhere? No. They are given to you to go back to your area, please your people by carrying out micro projects and let them realize that they did not make the wrong choice by sending you to represent them. When they say deputy of the nation, it signifies only one thing. The laws, you should participate in the laws that are made to serve the whole nation. But there is a larger something behind. That larger thing is you represent the interests of your people. I'll give you an example. In the United States, for example, when you're a senator or a congressman from a particular locality, you consult with your people before you go to Congress or you go to a Senate. And that is the same everywhere. Before you go to parliament, you have the consent of your people on a particular state, on a particular issue parliament has to discuss that very season. Whether in March, whether in June, whether in November, the months that parliament sits in Cameroon. Whether it is the section of the budget, you have the consent of your people. You are supposed to before moving. If it is June, if it is March, you have the consent of your people for whatever parliament has to discuss that very time before you move to parliament. You don't go there, move like that to go and then navigate blindly. No. You go with a concept, you go with an objective, and that's why you must not follow the crew, you follow what you brought from home. I remember, let me recall you from history. In 1919, when Prime Minister Lloyd George was leaving England to the Paris Peace Conference, the English people told him, let Germany pay to the last kobo. Let Germany pay to the last coin. That is what he carried to the conference. The French people told Clemenceau, let Germany lose territories to the last and get weakened to the lowest point so that our security is guaranteed. That is how those who represent people move to where issues concerning the nation go. They don't just go blindly. They go with what they carry from home.
You're talking about elite and notably parliamentarians and senators and so on. But the primary responsibility lies on the shoulders of the state. The primary responsibility to educate the citizens, to make sure that pupils go to school in acceptable conditions, is the responsibility of the government.
It is true, Mr. Babila, but one thing I must tell you, and I must tell every Cameroonian, is that as long as our state is lackluster in the way it does things, as long as our state is reactive, simply reactive, it is not proactive, it is not spontaneous, it is a late state in everything that is done. That is known. No matter what happens, it's a late state. But
it's a late state.
It's a late state.
What do you mean by it's a late
state?
A
late state that comes, or that always comes after things have been done and they're only falling behind, they're running behind things to catch up. And it is, I think, without, if they have caught up with anything at hand. As of now, look at the virus we contracted last time. Look at the way the government was trying to gamble around it. Look at so many other things uncountable. I don't want to sit here and begin to accuse the government because the Cameroonians see everything. Just look at the nature. You saw the nature of that school yourself. Keep the government aside. We also know projects that are given to contractors by the government. It is true that sometimes the government does not even pay the money. That one is clear. Because the contractors themselves say that money has not been paid. Some months now, the Minister of Urban Development was in Konsaba. Elsewhere, the Minister of the Public Works have been moving to places, either disqualifying works or problems that are coming up. In all regions, without an exception. Money has not been paid, and the contractors, with the little they have, will start executing the projects where their finances or where their means end. They will leave it like that. And as cunning and as vicious as Cameroonians are, papers will be made. People sitting somewhere will sign. They will go ahead, the project has been executed. And the people will keep crying until someday when an administrator who cares to listen to why and what the people are crying for will descend to the terrain, to descend to the field, and he will notice himself that nothing was done.
Well,
look at what has been happening. Maybe we are even discussing here and talking in front of the public. Maybe if you catch the elite of those areas, the council of that area, put them down and say, what is happening to this school? Why is this school bearing the name of the government with this kind of structure? They will tell you it's a contract that has been awarded to some person from that locality. As you see that school like that, don't be surprised government has allocated money, allocated a contract, paid or not. The character for our government is when they give you contract, they too stay and they wait. You have money, you do it, and then you begin to run behind them for several years or several, I don't know what it happens. But then the issue is, I would like that it is your job, investigate into it. If that kind of deplorable situation where people's children, people who go to vote, people who have a lead in government, people who have a lead in the parliament, in the senate, everywhere, and that kind of deplorable, shameful and disgraceful situation is in their locality. If there is nobody from that area who hasn't yet taken money or signed contract that he is going to construct or at least give some befitting building to those children who are sitting on planks, sitting on wood, and sitting on any kind of thing. I mean, it's deplorable.
Well, those in the Adamawa region, in government primary school in Bidu, in the Ngaundere, are sitting on logs of wood to study in very deplorable conditions. There are many in the northwest and southwest regions who have not been going to school. Some saw their dormitories burnt twice in Presbyterian Secondary School, Mancon. We're going to come to that in a short while. First of all, let's talk about the university lecturers who are on strike. They've put down their chalk and their pens, and they are saying that their conditions, their working conditions are deplorable. And at the same time, the special fund that was put in place by the President of the Republic to help improve or ameliorate on research is not being dished out to them as it ought to be. The rules and regulations governing that fund, the management of that fund, are not being respected according to the lecturers.
There are many questions that are supposed to be asked around this issue of the SNES, revolting every year and going on strike every year. So many questions. The first question I would like the whole public to ask, and I may even ask the lecturers themselves, I mean the university community, to ask is, has the budget been displaced actually from displaced into the coffers of the higher education ministry? That's the first question. Second question, budget displaced there. What is happening that you cannot leave higher education ministry to the pockets that are due? Those are some of the questions we may ask. Because I remember that some years, like 2014, when the SNES went on rampage, declared they wouldn't teach. That was from I think from October right up to January ending. Looks like some higher education teachers were even hired to, like in the media, give impression that the bonuses have been paid. Something like that happened. I was aware, but it's not my place to begin to dig into it, but it happened like that. The question is this: is the higher education ministry in possession of the finances? If they are in possession of the finances, why is it they are not? But I want us to know something.
It's something that is
universities
part
are
of the yearly budget of the Ministry of Higher Education. Is
if it is displaced there, then what is holding the Ministry of Higher Education? You see, in this country, politics has been enriched at the detriment of education. Very unlike other countries. I'll give you an example, like in Senegal, any person can contest, where education is given preference to grow. But in this country, politics is enriched. You invest in politics, you become richer than a university lecturer. Go to the university here, Douala, for example, where we are. Go to Douala where you are. Look at offices where lecturers sit there. They are far lesser than the office of a head teacher in a primary school. I think I should be excused by somebody if I'm hurting. But that is the reality. Go to the university. Go to public toilets in the university. Shame and disgrace are partner to any person who go there to look. A partner to that university if you go there and look at it. Move to the University of Douala. Descend to campus B down there. Look at the toilets there. Enter into classrooms, no seats, no benches, no chairs, nothing. Climb up here is the same scenario. And the question is this: university has budget. What kind of budget are we talking about? You meet students come in, benches have cracked, some of them have bent upside down. Teachers come, no seats to stand, no seats for them. I mean, university lecturers are supposed to be comfortable even when they're in classroom. But that's not the case. But there is budget for that.
So what is happening? That's the question. What is happening?
The issue here is
people who are transmitting knowledge, training, even heads of states, ministers, and all those people who are now managing the issues. They were trained by teachers, and today they are
no. They no longer know they were trained by teachers, because when you join politics and you no longer know you were trained by teachers. When they train by teachers and they get into politics, and politics in a country like ours, when politics is more enriched, investment is done more in politics than education that is supposed to move the country to another level. What do you expect? They will no longer know academics, they will no longer know university studies, they will no longer recognize who is teaching in the university or who is doing research in the university. Research in universities in Cameroon is below average. Far below average. In some universities, like in this Douala, it's almost, I'm just ashamed to say the level that it is, because the truth is teachers lack what to do in order to carry out proper research. I'm not blaming the rector. I'm not blaming the university administration. The problem can be above. Nobody knows. Nobody knows. But the issue is that when you find a situation where the university is lacking right down to toilet, lacking right down to classroom equipments, right down to everything, I begin to ask myself, is this the responsibility of university administration, or is it from the ministry, or is it from where? That is the problem every Cameroonian should ask. Not for me to sit here and give you any definite answer, because to be clear to you, I do not know where the issue is coming from, but something is wrong somewhere.
We are rounding up with the fire incidents recorded last weekend in PSS Mancon in Bamenda. Twice the boys' dormitory burnt, the second time the girls' dormitory burnt down, 4 persons killed in Bamenda, an explosion in Limbe. What's your take about these incidents happening at a time when the Minister of Territorial Administration says that the President of the Republic has won the war against secessionism?
You know, the Honorable Minister for Territorial Administration has said a lot. He has said a lot, and not only a lot, he has said with a lot of content in it that needs to be sometimes considered with, I don't know if like a joke or what, because he's a minister in Cameroon, and all Cameroonians have the right to comment on what he has said. Sometimes he plays jokes in front of the public. Playing jokes in the sense that we see how killings still go on. We see how insecurity is increasing day after day, and somebody is telling the public that the president has won the war. And in what way can we think that the president has won the war? That is not even common. Before even you carry us to Mancon, don't forget what happened to Seka Baptiste to a college there in Boya, where the dormitory was born before PSS
in Limbe, where students were beaten and chased
out. A dormitory burnt again in Boya before even PSS Mancon. The question here is, the issue here is, those are things that are recurrent as it stands now. Every objective Cameroonian can no longer point an accusing finger on either the independent fighters or whosoever. Whatever happens in the English zone now, people have to sit, observe, and wait, because it is proven already that the communique given by the government has ended up being a fallacy. sometimes accusations given up and down and rapidly. The flippancy has ended up proving a fallacy, proving otherwise. And it suffices only that people should watch, and with investigations probably carried out by some institutions that may be very independent and objective, can bring us something worthy of consumption. No longer neither the government nor whoever, because all these two sides have proven that they are not worthy enough for Cameroonians to continue to believe.
Gilbert Gimdo, civil society leader and historian, thank you for joining us today.
Thank you very much.
Thanks, ladies and gentlemen, for staying with us. Equinoxe comes up next with Cesar Lamotu.